Welcome to the Explainer. Today, we are breaking down a really clever new game. And trust me, it's way more than just X's and O's. We're talking strategy, deduction, and some pretty wild point swings. All right, let's just jump right in. What if you were playing two classic games at the exact same time? What would that even look like? Well, you'd have the classic board strategy of tic-tac-toe, right? But then you'd fuse it with the word-guessing puzzle of hangman. And that's exactly what this is. It's called Tic-Tac-Guess. This is a game where your board control and your word knowledge are totally linked. I mean, you literally can't do well in one without keeping a super close eye on the other. So, you're probably wondering, how does this actually work? Well, it's surprisingly simple. It really just boils down to a two-step process. Let's walk through what a single turn looks like. Okay, so every single turn has two parts, and the order here is so important. First, you pick an empty square on the tic-tac-toe board, the one you want to claim, kind of like calling dibs. Then, you guess a letter for that secret word. And here's the kicker. This is where your guess directly changes the game board. Guess the letter right? Boom. Your mark goes right on that square you just picked. But get it wrong, and you get a strike. And that square, it stays empty, totally up for grabs on the next turn.
But you gotta be careful. You can't just throw out random letters, because there's a limit to how many mistakes you and your opponent can make together. Every single wrong guess ticks that clock down.
You get a shared pool of just 8 strikes. And let me be clear, that's not 8 strikes each. It's 8 strikes total for the entire round. Once you guys use all 8, that's it. The round ends right there, and the word gets revealed. All right, so now you know how a turn works. But what about scoring? How do you actually win this thing? Well, this is where the real strategy kicks in, because there's more than one path to victory. See, in every single round, you have to make a choice. What's more valuable right now? Should you go for the board win, or should you focus on cracking that secret word? First up, you've got the classic method. Just win at tic-tac-toe. Get 3 of your marks in a row, you know the drill, horizontal, vertical, diagonal, and you'll lock in a solid 3 points. But the biggest prize, the real jackpot, that comes from solving the secret word before anyone even wins the board. If you're the one who guesses that last letter, you get a massive 5-point bonus, and the round just ends right then and there. Now, what if someone already won the board? They got their 3 points, right? Well, the game's not over. The puzzle is still live. Whoever finishes the word after that still gets a nice little 2-point bonus. It's a great way to tack on some extra points. And this slide right here shows a huge strategic advantage. Check this out. If you win the tic-tac-toe board, you don't just get the 3 points. Oh no, you also get an exclusive shot at that word. You get to use all the remaining guesses to try and solve it for that extra 2-point bonus. Your opponent? They're completely locked out. They just have to watch. So, you see the dilemma, right? Every single turn, you're faced with this strategic choice. You have to weigh your options. What do you prioritize? Board or word? This is the question you have to ask yourself every single turn. Do you go hard on the board, try to get that quick 3 points and lock in control? Or do you play it cool, patiently gathering letters to go for that big 5-point prize? Okay, let's break this down. Let's say you focus on the board. You're aiming for those 3 points and control of the endgame. But the risk? Every letter you get right also gives your opponent free info, helping them get closer to that 5-point word bonus. Now flip it. What if you focus on the word? You're playing the long game for the big prize. But the danger there is that every correct guess you make puts your mark on the board, and if you're not careful, you might be accidentally setting up your opponent for an easy win. So what's the pro play here? You gotta balance it. Early on, use those super common letters, E, T, A, O, I, to get on the board safely. But you have to watch what your opponent is doing. Defense is everything. Seriously, it's almost always a better move to block their win than it is to set up your own. Okay, let's wrap this all up. So what's the real key to winning at Tic-Tac-Guess? It all comes down to being flexible and seeing the entire board and the word at the same time. Look, the best players aren't one-trick ponies. They've mastered the basics of a turn, they know the scoring inside and out, and, this is the big one, they adapt their strategy after every single move. They're constantly asking themselves, okay, what's the better play right now, the board or the word? And you have to remember the most important rule of all. This is a 3-round game. It's not a sprint, it's a marathon. You might lose the board in round 1, but if you snag the word, you could still be ahead on points.
It's the highest total score after all 3 rounds that takes home the win. So, when it's your first move, what are you going to do? Play the board or play the word? The choice is yours. Hey, thanks for joining me for this explainer. Now you've got the playbook. Good luck out there.